I wrote a piece about the the increasingly damaging way in which GDP thinking is sort of distorting policymakers' decision making. Um, and if you just think about, we've always known, obviously, that GDP never counted lots of valuable productive work. All the productive work that was being done in the home doesn't count towards GDP. A car crash causes GDP to rise because of people have to buy new cars and all the
Mm-hmm.
work involved in scraping somebody off the motorway. So we've known that GDP is always has a quite a narrow focus, but the problem, or rather the tension between GDP economics and, as it were, human economics or human flourishing is becoming greater. So let me just give you this example. Say, and this must be happening in hundreds of thousands of homes across the country. Somebody on a decent income in their late 50s, early 60s, say they're a project manager or management consultants, or say they're earning 100, 120 grand a year, or say 100 grand for convenience. But they have an elderly parent who they love, and whose care they care about, who is becoming increasingly infirm. They're in their mid to late 80s. They need support. The elderly person really doesn't want to go into a home, um, even if they could afford a decent home.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so the son or daughter, the professional person on 100 grand a year, decides to go half time, in order to look after their elderly parent. Um, so the GDP economy loses £50,000, but the well-being, probably both of those people, rises, um, and the state also saves, uh, if that elderly person qualified for support. I mean, it costs about £50,000 a year, uh, in a of public support, um, to put somebody in a care home. So, and more of those cases are happening all the time. So the sort of GDP, the emphasis on on GDP growth in an aging society, and in an aging society with a fertility crisis too,
Mm-hmm.
um, because small children need looking after at home, which detracts from the GDP economy. So again, we're misaligning our priorities there. Uh, anyway, I mean, I do think we're sort of setting ourselves up to fail with the way in which sort of GDP it completely dominates the public mind on all of this, is something we've got to sort of wean ourselves off. And there's also, if you look at what's happened over the last 50 or 60 years, the great movement of women from the home into the workforce at all levels, from the job to the highest, the ordinary job in retail or whatever, to the highest professional pinnacles. There's a sort of false accounting involved in it. It's counted as a pure plus to
Yeah.
GDP, along with the fact that you had a huge expansion of the white goods industry as women moved from the home to the workplace. There was obviously greater demand for labor saving devices in the home, so you had this sort of double boost to the GDP economy, a double and unrepeatable boost. I mean, it's one of the things that we forget that when we look at the relatively slow growth today, that usually there has been something that's been kind of motoring growth, GDP growth in recent years. And so from the sort of 60s through to the 90s, that thing was women moving into the GDP economy, um,
Yeah.
plus the white goods industry. And what was happening, you have this one job becomes three jobs essentially. So you had the old breadwinner homemaker economy, where you had one worker. You then moved to two breadwinners. Both parents are working, and they need somebody to look after the child. So you've got three jobs where there was one
Yeah.
before. And of course, that's a good thing in many ways, but it's a sort of it kind of exaggerates the real growth. A lot of it is just unbundling what was sort of being done before.
If you enjoy this clip and you would like to support the show, all you have to do is press subscribe. And to watch the full conversation, you can go right here. I'll see you there.